Nation. We're back.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fire the Cannon. I'm Rocky.
And I'm Megan, and we are Fire the Cannon.
Welcome back, Megan. I am in Puerto Morelos. How are you?
I'm good. Just running around like crazy as always. I asked myself, why am I the way that I am? Because here it is, 9 p.m. on a Wednesday. I still don't have my truck packed for Georgia, of which I'm leaving for at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So, it's a day in the life, but hey, it's good and we love it and we love to be out there. So all good things, and very excited for this episode. I know we normally do our catch up. We normally do just a little chit chat, but Rocky, I got to tell you, I am so excited for this episode. I kind of want to just jump right in. You good with that?
Let's do it. Let's welcome our special guest, Megan. I'll let you introduce. He needs no introduction, but Longhorns all know the legend.
Absolutely. Lifetime Longhorn, the man, the myth, the legend, Fozzy Whittaker is here with us tonight. We are so excited. Again, man, I could go through the list of accolades, but we know him. You played in the 2010 BSCS National Championship. You also ran track. Some Longhorns may not know that, but you were in the 2010 Big 12 Track and Field Championship, 2011 All Big 12 first team on special teams, 2011 honorable mention for Big 12 Player of the Year on special teams. You played with the Browns, the Chargers, Arizona, and of course, with the Super Bowl, Carolina Panthers, man. And now you are doing the color analyst. You mentioned just recently you're going to fly to Tennessee. So before we jump in too far, Fozzy, first of all, welcome. And we appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
we appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you all having me on. Thank you so much.
You're such a busy person, so we know it means a lot to take time to chat with us.
Always. If I can be able to join and talk about some Texas football, that's where you can find me.
I love it. I love it. So you had mentioned a little bit earlier that you're heading out to Tennessee to call their game. You've been doing an amazing job with color commentary. So tell us about it. What's it like commenting on the other UT? Do you get any flack for that when you're out there?
I actually haven't gotten much flack. It's been very hospitable. I will say anytime I've gone to Knoxville, and this is my third time actually traveling to Knoxville. I went once earlier in the year when they played Arkansas, and it'll be my third time covering Tennessee this year as they played Mississippi State in Starkville. And then now this upcoming weekend, they'll play New Mexico State in Neyland. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll probably be a one-sided affair with as overpowered as Tennessee is. But at the same time, that's why we play the games, because you never know what the outcome may be. And it's really, really cool being able to take in kind of football as a fan to a certain degree. Even though I'm working as a commentator and providing the color analysis, I still get to take in the pageantry. I still get to see the pregame warm-ups, and it kind of gives me that same feeling, that little kind of buzz of what I miss whenever I'm playing, whenever I used to play. And so being in that atmosphere, hearing the crowd, both bands, hearing the team get booed as they come out and hearing the team get cheered on as they prepare for battle, I think that's where I truly love being, and seeing all the different kind of flavors of what college football has been it's been a blessing to me in my life. And as I continue down my broadcasting journey, I hope to continue to see some more sights and enjoy some of the great pageantry of college football.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I have to ask you, do you still get the same kind of butterflies when you go in and right before you're on to broadcast, maybe as you did, before football games? How are the experiences different? How are they similar?
Yeah, the butterflies are still there. It's probably not as immense as it was whenever I was playing. There was a different kind of I need the ball to be kicked, and then that's whenever everything kind of dissipated. I got my tunnel vision, and then it's time to rock and roll. Whereas whenever I'm in the booth, it's a completely different feeling, where it's a lot more easy flow, easy going. My play-by-play partner is Dave Neal, who's been covering the SEC for almost 30 years now. This is his 30th season,
which is
amazing. Amazing, right? He's covered it almost as old as I am. So he makes it extremely easy. He's been in the industry, obviously a true professional, very knowledgeable, and he sets me up a lot of times to be able to explain my analysis and my perspective on plays and why they happen. And so the relationship that I've been able to foster with Dave has been phenomenal. Our on-field reporter, Morgan Niebuhr, also is a bright young talent, and she and I have worked together in years prior. And so for us to be a crew with us three this season, and being in the mix that we are, it really keeps me calm. So I don't have the same type of butterfly effects that I did before the game, but there's definitely still some jitters that takes place before I talk for the first time.
I appreciate that. Being on camera it's a different kind of feeling. And even when you're a pro, even when you know what you're doing,
Right.
there's always that like, okay, camera's live now. Here we go. We're rocking. So we can totally appreciate that. We're on a much smaller microcosm here, but again, we appreciate it. So Fozzy, I'm going to flip the script on you real quick.
All
so
right.
we know you as one of the OGs for Third and Longhorn. Y'all, if you don't know who Third and Longhorn is, I don't know why you're listening to this show, because these guys covering everything, do an amazing job. But one of the questions that y'all ask your guests on Third and Longhorn is, how did you get to Texas? So we're going to flip the script and ask you that. How did you get to Texas, Fozzy?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Growing up in middle school and my early stages of high school, I actually was a huge Miami Hurricanes fan. And my older brother, my middle brother, he was a huge Florida State fan. And it was funny because anytime they played each other in the rivalry game, he was yelling, doing the tomahawk chant and all of that. And I was over here throwing up the U, like I knew exactly what was going on and had no idea about what Miami life was truly about. But it was one of the greatest teams assembled, in my opinion, that 2001 Miami National Championship team. And even the 2002 team that went to the national championship ended up losing to Ohio State in a close battle. But the number of players and the all-stars and playmakers that came from those two teams in particular, it really had me enamored with wanting to represent the U and be kind of the next back that would be able to, hold the banner. And I always obviously lived in Texas. I'm a Houston boy. I've always watched Texas. I've always been enamored with the way that Texas looked and how they always produce really, really special, talented running backs as well. But there was something about Miami at that time that I was like, man, that looks like a cool place to be. And a couple years later, Larry Coker gets fired. It seems like Miami is no longer the U. They go into a slump and it looks completely different. Then I also realized as I got older that it wasn't necessarily that the U was what I wanted for the totality of what my next level of playing college football would be. I wanted to have an academic presence, which I know Miami has, but as I broadened my search for what I really was looking for in a college program, I wanted it to be all inclusive. And obviously Texas checked all of those boxes for me. And that was kind of the greatest feeling, was being able to be recruited during that time frame once I got of age in my sophomore year and my junior year, that they came calling. And Oscar Giles was the defensive end that played at Texas, and he was the D-line coach that was the recruiting coordinator in my area. And so he was the first one that reached out to me. And then Coach Ken Rucker was the running back coach, and obviously Mac Brown was the head coach. And having all three of those guys kind of be soundboards and recruiting me and telling me how the process worked and letting me know what type of atmosphere Texas was, it already made me feel right at home. And so it was a perfect opportunity that paired up with me playing elite level football at the University of Texas, representing the state, following tradition of great running backs coming through this university, as well as being able to match my athleticism with my academics off of the field, and being able to have what I call the best public university, or public Ivy, I will say. And pairing those two together, you can't beat it. And the travel is only about 2.5 hours from home. So my mom and my brothers could make the trip, and it just worked out seamlessly in the way God had planned it. And so once I got the offer, took a couple of weeks, and I said, Coach Brown, I'm ready. I know exactly where I want to be, and I haven't looked back since.
I love it. I bet your mom was happy that you were a little closer to home. That
Yeah.
trip to Austin is certainly a lot easier than making the trip out to Miami, for sure.
Absolutely. I'm sure she wouldn't have minded the beach.
You're right.
Going out a little bit and then catching some rays and being out in the water, but I'm sure she appreciates Texas a lot more.
Yeah, nowadays the parents get those NIL flights, right? They get to fly to the games and things.
Oh, yes.
NIL package.
Which I wish I was living in that era.
Y'all paved the way, definitely. So I know you've accomplished a lot. We kind of mentioned a few of your accomplishments. Was there something that you wish you would have gotten done at Texas, or that you're most proud of having done at Texas?
Yeah, a thing I wish I would have gotten done was win a national championship. I know we got to play in it in 2009, but ultimately that was my goal of going to the University of Texas. I was being recruited during the 2005 season, so I had made it up to 3 different games and separate occasions during that year, and just saw how special it was to be a part of a team and a program that really embraced each other, that had a very live and familyhood type of culture. The locker room, the way that Mac Brown spoke highly of everybody and got them to play up no matter what it was. In a way, Vince Young was a leader for that team and really changed the trajectory of where Texas football is thought about in the modern era. And I think that was something that I wanted to be a part of, was continuing that legacy and tradition. And Colt McCoy, obviously, at the time, we didn't even know what Colt was going to be, but the thought process was like, hey, the quarterbacks have come through the University of Texas and they've performed very well on a national level. Colt will be the next one, or next in line, to be able to uphold what the tradition was. And as he continued his career early on as a redshirt freshman and sophomore, and then obviously making a huge jump in his junior and senior year, that's where I really was super appreciative of the path I was given, but being able to win that national championship, it eluded me. And so that's something that I wish I would have been able to accomplish with my brothers, and, put up one more, number on the stadium. So that'll have to wait. Maybe this year, the 2025 team can be able to do that for us, as that's something that I wouldn't say I regret it, but wish it would have fell in the way that we had worked and planned for it to fall. So
sure, it would have been nice. Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question for my daughter, referencing my daughter Nadia. Most people who watch the show know my daughter Nadia. She's a senior in high school, and she had to have ankle surgery, and so she's been missing senior year wrestling, all the things. And she's been 6 weeks completely non-weight bearing, and today's the first day she could put weight on her foot.
Let's go.
Let's go. But I just wanted just some advice or encouragement, or overcoming, injuries, and, having to sit back and watch your teammates go and you can't go. What would you say to her? She just said hi.
Well, Nadia, hello to you as well. First thing is, you are loved. I want you to understand that. Obviously, your mom loves you, but it's not just your mom. You have a huge support system that is cheering and rooting you on and wanting you to be the best version of yourself. That's something that I had to realize and understand my senior year, when I tore my knee and was unable to finish my college career the way that I wanted to and the way that I thought it was supposed to go. But when I reflected back, even in my time of rehab, and I was non-weight bearing in a similar fashion as you were, I had to realize that, sports is one thing, but being able to celebrate and enjoy your family, enjoy the people that have supported you to get to the point where you are, even as a senior, that's another thing that can never be taken away. It doesn't matter with the physical ability. It doesn't matter if you ever play or wrestle again. Just know that everything that you've done up to this point has been appreciated, and you have been appreciated for everything that you have done. And so that's one of the biggest stories that I attribute to my comeback whenever I was able to fight back and claw, whatever you want to call it, to be able to pursue my dreams to play in the NFL at the next level. Was I embraced my family's love. I embraced the support that I got from my friends, and I cherish the moments that they share with me, whether I was healthy or whether I wasn't healthy, because that's who's going to be with you no matter what, through the thick, through the thin, through the highs and through the lows. And through that cherishment of family love and the bond, it's going to make you stronger and come back as an athlete that's even more formidable than you were before, because now it's not just you doing it. Now you got a whole host of people behind you that's helping and supporting you through this time. And then you're going to continue to elevate who you are as a person. So continue to love on your family as your family continues to love on you, and that's going to make you a better person and a better athlete in the long run.
Thank you.
That's amazing. That's probably some of the best advice we've gotten here, because, you know, a lot of folks like to lean into the, you know, listen to the trainer, which obviously you should do. Listen to the trainers, follow the doctor's directions, do all that. But I think, especially in today's day and age, you know, with the pressures that student athletes have, that all athletes have, right? The mental strains and the things, I think it's easy to kind of get lost in the heaviness of it and the weight of everything. And so I love hearing that. I love just that reminder to love the people that love you. Remember that you're loved. That's incredible, man. Like that is a good reminder from somebody who's been there, done that, seen success at the highest levels. So thank you for that, Fozzy. That was
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she said, thank you. CB says, great words, Fozzy. Yeah, she's going to play rugby in college. So
Let's
that's
go.
great advice. All
And
right, Megan,
that's a real contact sport now. We got pads. Rugby, that's a whole different monster right there.
Yeah,
So
she's a dang good rugby player. So she's going to play rugby in college, but wrestling is her high school sport. Awesome. All right, Megan, you have more questions for Fozzy. A couple more questions, then we'll dive into Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're kind of just talking about, you know, the changes in today's game with the pressures, the mental pressures, things like that. So what would you say is the biggest challenge as a Texas athlete, and has that changed today, or how has that morphed from when you played to now?
I think social media is probably the biggest challenge. Whenever I played, there were the early stages of social media. There was like Facebook around, but it wasn't nearly what it is now. Twitter came online my senior year, I believe, in 2011. But nobody was obviously checking tweets in the same version, in the same vein that we do now. And it's a completely different atmosphere of what the kids face from the people reaching out to them, people contact them, people talking negatively to them, about them, people trying to look for handouts, people from all walks across the globe that can, you know, have an impact on a young college student. And I'm thankful. I know I talked about I wish I was playing now for the NIL opportunities too, but at the same time, I'm thankful I don't have to deal with some of the same pressures that these kids have to deal with, because it's immense. And thankfully, the support system at the University of Texas is what it is, to be able to help guide these young student athletes through the process and through the work, and navigating their social life with their academic life, with their sports life, and pairing all of those things together. But it's cell phones weren't nearly the same type of, I guess, identification that they are now, because you go out on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in Austin, you're a high profile guy. I can only imagine what it's like for Arch Manning to step out anywhere. And let alone do something that people think is negative, right? That's going to be posted on Instagram, going to be posted on Twitter, and all of these things. And he may just be at a pool party trying to swim and have fun, right? And people will perceive it in so many different ways. And the biggest thing that I have noticed, though, is that with these newer athletes and the newer generations, if they've learn how to block a lot of that out. And I think Arch is a perfect example. That's why I bring him up. He's not even on social media like that, right? He has accounts, he has handles, people handle it for him. And obviously creating a brand and understanding your brand and building that brand and the identity to be able to be relatable with what you want your brand to be. Social media is powerful for that, but for all the negativity and all of the excess kind of distractions, I think that's where you start to see the separation of players and athletes in the past and the ones that are present and the ones in the future being able to be mature and handle their business without having to get caught up with those online distractions. So I applaud all of the young athletes now doing what they're doing, because literally everything is recorded and posted in some form or fashion, and they're able to still, have a life and enjoy themselves, but at the same time know, what's at stake, what's at hand, and what they're working towards, and realize their potential. So it's definitely a different atmosphere than what it was in 2007 and 2008 when I first started on campus in Austin.
Right. Yeah. I mean, these things are 4K now. It's crazy. Like
right.
when I was at school, I mean, I was there a little bit before 2000 through 06. I think the Razor was like the new hotness.
Oh yeah.
Like the whopping 2-megapixel camera, right? So if you got a picture of the crap you were doing, it was this ridiculous blurry. Can't really even tell who's in the picture.
Where did those pictures even go now? Like, if you think about it, like, what are those even used for now?
The only game we could play was that snake game. Remember?
Oh yeah, snake. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, one more question for you, and then we'll have lots of questions as we go. But Texas, just in general, Texas's move to the SEC. What is your overall thoughts on now that we've had a year or so in the SEC?
I absolutely love it. This move, for obviously more than just financial reasons, but for the competition and for the level of play that Texas wants to be known for, and understanding like, hey, ain't no cakewalks throughout this conference. There's no, you roll out your helmets and you get a dub. It doesn't work out like that in the SEC. And I think being able to play in the best conference, I believe, is the best conference from a depth perspective. I think that truly sets teams apart from where the journey through the season can take them on so many different roller coasters. And Texas is a perfect example, where at the beginning of the season, especially against Ohio State, you taking the loss. And it was a hard-fought game, right? A 7-point differential between the final score. But then you look and you see the Texas team that kind of struggled a little bit at the beginning. Even against lesser opponents, there was just some things that needed to unfold, and they had to create some rhythm and some chemistry, and defense was playing lights out. Offense had to play catch up. And now we've seen in a couple of games where the offense has played lights out and defense is playing catch up, and the complementary style of it, needing big plays on special team and seeing that development of the team. I think that's really cool. And seeing that unfold in the best conference in the country, I think makes it even more special, because you see how hard it is to win. And it doesn't matter what conference you're in, to be honest, to understand that level of competition always is going to be what it is. And whenever you're at the University of Texas, a lot of teams give you their best shot. And you're going to see that no matter who you play, no matter when it is in the season. But at the same time, knowing that, okay, you're playing against Alabama. Well, they're in the same vein of everybody gives Alabama their best shot. You're playing against Georgia, where everybody gives Georgia their best shot. Oh, you're playing against LSU, where everybody gives LSU, right? So it matches with the same type of tenacity that we feel like Texas is from a national perspective, and the national landscape and the narrative of where Texas football has been over the past couple of seasons with Steve Sarkisian. And so matching it up with that and the anticipation of being able to compete every week, week in and week out with the best of the best, I think this move has been very, very important in the story and the narrative of what Texas football and the historical implications it can have for this program moving forward, to be recognized as one of the true blue bloods in the NCAA.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I think David Wheeler said it just means more, right? That SEC slogan. It
You know,
does. And
I still haven't fully gotten on board, right? I know Texas and the SEC, and it just means more is the slogan. I understand it. I've maybe said it once, but I still haven't. It still hasn't grown on me to the fullest extent of like SEC chants, like during bowl season for the entire like I can't do
thank
that.
you.
I
No,
can't.
I
I'm not
and
on board.
No.
and maybe this is where we get I think it was Hills earlier on y'all's show had mentioned the perception of the arrogance of Texas, right?
Mhm.
Like there's a national perception that Texas is arrogant. And right, wrong, or indifferent, maybe this is somewhere that comes from. I agree wholeheartedly. Texas is Texas. We are Texas. We are the
Mhm.
national brand. And while being in the SEC certainly has its advantages and has elevated recruiting, it helps in a lot of different ways, and you're upping the expectation of the competition. We're still Texas, and to that point, a lot of people perceived us as, like he said, prima donnas. So that arrogance and everything, maybe this is where it comes from, but I agree. I'm never going to be a person that chants for the SEC because I don't care about the SEC. I care about Texas.
I want
We
them
are
all to
Texas, and
lose all
that's
the
what
time.
matters. So,
Yeah, and I like when we do it mockingly, before we join the SEC. Like I like that, and that's funny. But yeah, we don't need to shout for the other people. I want them all to lose all the time.
absolutely.
Anyway, Megan, let's give a little love to Rock and Diamond S Ranch, and then we will dive into Texas at Georgia.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Well, the holidays are just around the corner, and we've got a few Texas games left at home. So if you were looking for the perfect hill country getaway, look no farther than the Rock and Diamond S Ranch. It's nestled on 120 acres in the beautiful hill country, just near Johnson City. So it's a quick drive to Austin or San Antonio. This beautiful property sleeps 14 with one primary home, 2 fully furnished cabins, wildlife watching, fishing. You can, of course, say hi to the Longhorns, play with them, feed them, and also indoor and outdoor eating and cooking. With it being just 5 minutes away from downtown Blanco, there are breweries, eateries, shopping, and more. So again, the holidays around the corner. Don't pay those inflated Austin prices where they jack up the rates. You got to check out the Rockin' Diamond S Ranch. Give our good friend Chuck Smith a call at 512-694-1969 or book online at rockindiamondsranch.com. And don't forget to tell them that Fire the Cannon sent you.
All right, good job. All right, welcome back. Okay, so let's dive into Texas at Georgia. This is, of course, a top 10 matchup, big deal. And there's so many storylines within this game, right? The Kirby Smart, Sarkisian story, the two young hot quarterback story. Like there's just the two defenses story. There's just so much here. And of course, they faced each other twice last year. Texas had that big Sugar Bowl win a few years ago, and we're back and all the things. And here we are now 0-2 this past year against Georgia. So let's talk about it. Just Megan, you had a point that you think it's people are saying that Texas doesn't.
I have a bone to pick. I do. I have a bone to pick. I am so exhausted by this narrative that Texas doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell, and that, oh God, we need a miracle and all the things to go perfectly. Look, this is going to be probably the best matchup that Texas has had this season. And I say that including Ohio State. I really do. I think there's more on the line here. It matters more in the conference. It matters more for national implications, for playoff implications. So, and I think Texas and Georgia match up really well here. Rocky, like you pointed out, there is the narrative that Texas and Sark can't beat Kirby Smart. And I get it. It's easy to buy into that narrative. But this perception that, oh, golly gee, Texas is just lucky to be in the conversation with Georgia pisses me off. And I think it's a ridiculous narrative. And I'm here to talk about it. And Fozzy, I hope you're here to talk about it with us. And I'm going to drink my wine and I'm going to get a little angry about it. But let's roll. Let's dive into Georgia.
I'm good with that.
Fozzy, have you been to Athens, and did you go at night?
I have not been to Athens yet, so that's one of the few SEC places I still need to go check out. I wish I was there this weekend. Obviously, I'm sure the atmosphere will be rocking at Sanford Stadium, but I haven't been. I've heard obviously about it, but it's escaped me or eluded me in the games that I've been able to call so far.
All right. So this is what Vegas has, the original, well, ESPN analytics. Georgia with a 60% chance right now. The game is about a 5.5-point spread. So let's talk about it. Texas is going in. We know they were the preseason #1. All the hype of returning players. #1 defense in the country, expectations coming in, Arch Manning, of course, and then they went from #1 to unranked, but they're the first team ever to go from 1 to unranked to back to the top 10. Isn't that crazy?
A wild ride. It
that
is
very wild.
So Georgia's going to be a red out. How much do you think the night game red out, home atmosphere really plays into that? And second part of that question, how much of this big, long road, the time the team was away on the road, is going to play a factor in going into this environment?
I love the fact that Georgia's doing the all-out, red out, like going all in on the atmosphere. That does make a difference. Let me not act like that's not going to be a factor when you start factoring in the crowd noise, especially on third downs, if it's a critical third down in the game, or if Texas is backed up in their own end zone, that plays a tremendous factor in trying to communicate and making sure you don't have some of those penalties that cost you, which we've seen Texas have in the past, where a penalty takes you from now 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8, and that looks immensely different. And you want to throw in the wrinkle of adding a Kirby Smart defense that likes to give you different looks in the same way that Matt Patricia did with Ohio State. That's not the key to success. So this Texas team is going to have to be really mature, and that's where being on the road for so long, I want to say it was 42 days since the last time Texas was able to play at home before the Vanderbilt game. That's going to be immense. I guess it's going to help them immensely as they prepare for this battle, because they've already been used to it for over a month. They've already had to live with what it was to not come up and rise to the occasion against Florida, and don't want that feeling again. And also what it was to be able to come back in multiple times against Mississippi State and Kentucky, and having those types of experiences to draw from and saying, hey, the environment's going to be just like that, maybe even a tick more, because this stadium's even larger than the other 3 that I just mentioned. But at the same time, we were able to showcase who we were in those moments. We were able to figure things out. Even against Florida, I know it was a loss. We started figuring things out at the end. Against Mississippi State, at the end, that's whenever we played our best football. And against Kentucky, whenever we needed a play to happen, the defense gets the stop. We go into overtime. That stop was critical. Offense showcases who they needed to be, and that's what you're going to have in Georgia, because all 3 of those types of games and experiences that they learn from that may come up in this one game Saturday night. And I think that learning experience that they were able to take with them, and obviously if you want to count the Red River going to Dallas, that was the best complete game that Texas had played, where all 3 phases were clicking on all cylinders. They're going to need that too, right? So all 4 of the different teams and different phases that we saw Texas go through in the month of October should be the learning experiences that they'll be able to pull from, utilize that to their advantage, and then go in there and be silent assassins. That's what I like to say. Whenever you're on the road, hostile environment, everybody's telling you what you can and can't do, or what you won't be able to do, about how impactful the crowd is going to be. Hey, just go in there. You don't got to say nothing. Go do what you intend to do, and do it in emphatic fashion, and let that do the talking for you. And whenever the crowd is quiet at the end of the night, then you know your job is accomplished. And so the silent assassin mentality is what I used to always say whenever we go on the road of just, hey, it's just us against the world. Obviously, we know that, and the kind of cliche meaning behind it, but it's truly like we all we got. Ain't nobody else out here. If a fight broke down, like we finna have to fight 95,000 people. And there's nobody else I'd rather fight 95,000 people with than the brothers that I've been fighting with all season long. And so having that type of mindset and mentality, I think, is what this Texas team needs to feed off of and continue to feed on, as over the past couple of weeks, the offense has looked impressive. They figured out something. It's clicked. The relationship between Arch and the offensive lineman and the shuffling, as well as his receivers, that's where Texas is starting to become who they need to be and peaking at the right time of the season.
Absolutely. So we talk about this often on Fire the Cannon. We talk about the energy of the team. Are they coming out excited? Are they coming out flat? What do they look like? I think one of my favorite times that I saw Texas come out, just where it was swagger the whole time. It wasn't trash talking. It was just swagger. They knew they had it, was at Alabama. Do you think that this Texas team, like you're pointing out, and I agree wholeheartedly, Texas is, especially in those fourth quarters, but against Vanderbilt, like Texas is figuring it out. It seems like later in this season, Arch is figuring it out. Do you think that will contribute to the team mentality going in? Is this a Texas team that we're going to see come out hyped with that same kind of energy of the, like, we know we got this in the bag, no question. I trust my guys. We got this energy with that kind of borderline Texas cockiness, right?
Absolutely.
Is that something that you think they're going to have?
I expect that to happen. And I think one of the reasons why is because the health. Now you get your aces back on the field, right? And having Michael Taft and having Jelani McDonald to be healthy, having Wingo practicing again and be available. Like whenever you're at full strength, you have a different level of confidence, no matter who you playing. And that confidence, it seeps and it oozes through this Texas team. And they got to have that if they want that swagger like they had in 2023. And that was a completely different experience, right? If you look at Georgia last year in the regular season when Georgia came to Austin, Georgia possessed that swagger. Texas, we had the we know it's going to be a dogfight, but like we'll be fine type of mentality and mindset. And we weren't fine at the very beginning. Like it was not okay. And it took literally almost 3 quarters for Texas to say, oh, okay, now we can fight back. Like they've been throwing punches. We've been accepting them. Now is the opportunity that we get to throw some shots in. And it just was a little too late before Texas could really surmount a comeback in that game. But you see, whenever they faced them in the SEC championship, that was a completely different mindset, completely different start to the game. Obviously, the finish was not the way that you wanted, but it wasn't from a lack of effort or a lack of attitude or mentality or physicality. Like Texas answered all of the questions that needed to be answered from game one. And I think that confidence from playing in the SEC championship will seep over because of the confidence that we saw against Vanderbilt, even not at full strength. Pairing those two things up gives me the idea and the impression that this Texas team is going to be ready for a dogfight. It doesn't matter if it's a brawl. It doesn't matter if it's a boxing match. Like they can put the gloves on or take them off, bare hands. This Texas team going to be ready to go. One of the best people to kind of set the tone for that is going to be Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons is the true tone setter of the defense from a defensive line perspective. If he goes out there and he creates a negative play, whether it's a TFL or a sack on that first possession, like that's going to send waves of confidence to the entire team. It's going to send waves of confidence to the defense. It's going to send waves of confidence to Arch. Like it reverberates across the field. In the same way, if Arch goes out there, hits a dime, a 26-yard, completion to the tight end on an over route, or a 20-yard, dig route to Ryan Wingo, and you get one of those on the 3rd and 6, and it's kind of one of those back-breaking conversions, like that's going to send, those messages to the rest of his teammates, like, hey, we here, and now we're here to stay. So I'm hoping that's the type of Texas approach. And let me not say I'm hoping, that is going to be the Texas approach that we see unfold Saturday night. And I think that's the swagger they got to have if they expect to win. But it's definitely going to be a brawl. This is not no Georgia going to win in a cakewalk or a snowball chance that Georgia and Texas is going to be even close. Like, yeah, no. That's not what this football game is going to be Saturday night. So I'm expecting haymakers to be thrown by both sides, but Texas obviously, I think, will be prepared and up to the task, especially since they'll be back at full strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Rocky, do you have the injury report?
Yeah, I have it.
They released the Wednesday injury report.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I know that I don't know that I've ever seen an injury report like this at this stage.
In week 12 of college football, none to report.
That's impressive.
So happy for that. I know it was a long haul on the road. That bye week seemed to come just at the right time, making sure that everybody had their, the refreshment and their time home, and their mom's cooking, and just enough time to get right.
CJ Baxter Road roller coasters.
Yeah, right. But I mean, to your point, Fozzy, with Colin Simmons being so vocal, we know that we've got Mookie back too. Having those two dudes in your backfield and back there leading, on the D line, and then of course a little bit farther back with Mookie. Can you speak to how that will change the dynamic? Because we saw that we missed Mookie a little bit in these last couple of games. We saw maybe some weaknesses, some kind of chinks in the armor there for the defense. Can you kind of tell us how's that going to change with Mookie back, and the importance of having leaders like Colin Simmons at full speed, full health, and Mookie at full health?
Yeah, Michael Taft is an unreal safety. And for those that haven't necessarily followed closely, especially last year and looking at this year, the importance of having him out there on the field as a field general, that it was made apparent in the comeback that Vanderbilt was able to surmount with Diego Pavia. Like, Mookie was missed tremendously, especially on 4th and 19. That's a play that I feel like Mookie would have been able to make no matter what happened, right? And then there are a lot of different reasons why that play happened, and Texas got the dub, so I won't bring up any sour tastes in our mouth, but it definitely showcased how important and valuable Michael Taft is to that back end. And so having him back, he's the true captain of the defense, right? The true leader, the captain, the guy that sets the entire team up for success from the standpoint of, hey, if the D-line needs to be pushed over one gap, like, he can communicate that to the linebackers, who then communicate that to whichever D lineman needs to be put into the right position. If one of the cornerbacks didn't get a call in and they playing a completely different coverage than what was intended to be called by Coach Akina, Michael Taft has the awareness and also the maturity to go cover up a mistake that may have happened on somebody else. And I think that's where you see him really be an eraser. And that's what Jay Hills called him on our show, was how much of an impact and an eraser Michael Taft was on the back end, because some of the big explosive plays that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, those weren't a thing whenever he was back there, because he had guys in the right position, or he was the one making the play to be able to ensure that it wasn't an explosive play. So having him back and being that vocal type of person and leader, that defense is going to feel more comfortable knowing, okay, this is the call, this is where we're going to be, we don't have to worry about it. And from a Colin Simmons perspective, they're tied and attached on a string, right? The DBs are only going to be able to defend as well as our pass rush is able to get after Gunnar Stockton in the pocket. And that's a DB's best friend, is an elite pass rush. And if Colin Simmons can get back there and make life uncomfortable for Gunnar Stockton and really force him to be rolling to his opposite hand, or not being able to step into his throws whenever he's trying to make some of those completions downfield, then it makes the job for the DBs that much easier because they're not having to cover as long, and then it also forces some inaccurate throws, which you hope would end up in the hands of the Texas secondary. So I think that's where the impact and the importance of having Michael Taft back is a huge bonus, and it's a huge addition that Texas needs to have in this game, and how Colin Simmons can be a factor with the DBs and how that plays and relates to the success that Texas defense looking to have.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for you. A minute ago, you mentioned this team having matured and needing to have the maturity. We talked about coming in with intensity and fire and excitement for this game, a little swagger coming into this game. But Sark always talks about not playing with emotion, but not playing emotionally, right? So in the last game, there was just a laundry list of referee issues and questions about the officiating, right? Going into this environment, we know even though Georgia leads the SEC in arrests, they are somehow the team that's least penalized in the SEC. So make that fit, make that make sense. They're the most perfectly behaved children on the pitch, right, on the field, right? What advice would you tell this team, or what do you think Sark is telling this team about going into this environment? And you have the leadership now of Hill and Tapp and these leaders going into an environment where they're going to be held and not get the call. They're going to get a clean sack, and it's going to be roughing the passer. What do you tell them about?
Well, discipline is definitely going to be a key factor in this game. And you bring up the penalties. Obviously, Georgia is the best in the conference at not causing penalties, and Texas is one of the worst in the conferences with the amount of penalty yardage that Texas accumulates on a game-by-game basis. So for a team like Texas to be able to go on the road in a hostile environment at night with a red out and all the things that will be happening in Athens, Georgia, it's hard enough to beat Georgia as is, just like that. You make it immensely harder if you have to beat yourself and Georgia by trying to overcome some of the penalties that we've seen Texas have over the course of this season. So I think the discipline will have to be at an all-time high. And that should be the standard. That is the standard. That's what Sark always says. We just haven't seen it consistently enough on a game-by-game basis to know that the teams are going to have that type of approach in that type of game. But if they do it and are able to do it, there's no better time than this Saturday to do it, because that's what is going to be necessary to beat a good team. You can't beat yourself. It's hard enough to already beat them. You can't beat yourself. And Texas has to be disciplined, and they have to be mature, like you mentioned, and be focused on the task at hand, because everything is going to be around them. All the narrative, all the talk. I talked about social media earlier, right? They hearing certain things on social media about what this game is and how big of an implication it can have on the college football playoff and an SEC championship appearance, all of those things, right? Don't worry about that. You just handle what you can control. And that's making sure you don't jump off sides, right? These are pre-snap penalties, right? Don't jump off sides. Just watch the ball, right? Don't false start before anything happens. And Georgia didn't even have to do anything, right? Make them defend you. Don't give them free yardage. So those types of penalties are where Texas have erred in, and those are things that they can control and absolutely eliminate in the game so it doesn't become a factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, some numbers that might not have Texas Longhorns feeling so great. Texas has 73 penalties this year total, for a total of 595 yards lost. So that's averaging 8.1 penalties and 66.1 yards per game. So to your point, Fozzy, that's something that's going to have to be cleaned up in a really difficult, loud road environment with a bunch of drunk fans. It's a night game. It's going to be crazy in Athens. This is a true college town with crazy fans that know how to do it. So I agree. That's something, that we'll talk about this a little bit later in our segment. But yeah, Texas is absolutely going to have to focus in. Now, something I did want to talk about, we had been talking about the leaders on defense, talking about, how Mookie's going to be kind of playing the field commander there, helping the linebackers get in possession. Rocky, do you mind pulling up the picture that I sent you? We know that Texas did. I mean, Gunnar Stockton came in the last time we played Georgia in that SEC championship. I want to see this Gunnar Stockton. I want to see this Gunnar Stockton. Remember this hit where he just got blasted and helmet flew off, and it was probably questionable if he should have been playing still.
Right.
I mean, he got rocked. I want this picture to be up in the locker room, and I want this to be the goal every time. I want that man's uniform to be dirty and that helmet to be flying off cleanly. I don't want injuries. I don't want anything like that. But but can you talk a little bit? Is this Texas defense going to be able to get to Gunnar Stockton? He's an experienced quarterback. Y'all spoke on your show about being that fourth year here. He knows how to keep calm. He knows how to see the field and handle pressure well. Is this Texas defense going to be able to get back and disrupt Gunnar Stockton? What are your thoughts on that?
I do believe this Texas defense has the ability to do that. But in order to be able to get after Gunnar Stockton, you got to handle what Georgia does really well first, which is stopping the run. Mm-hmm. They are going to want to control the line of scrimmage. And the best way to slow down an aggressive pass rush is to be able to run the football. And if Texas can stop the run, that's when you get your opportunities to pin your ears back. And we always used to hear coaches say you earn the right to rush the passer. You got to earn the right. So on first and second down, that means you got to earn it, right? These Georgia, the left tackle, right guard, center, you guys 330 pounds. Like they not no small boys, and they got bad intentions. They got bad intentions. They trying
big humans with bad intentions. I like it.
They are trying to get you gone, and they want to embarrass you as best as possible legally, right? In the same way.
Yes.
And that's where the Texas mentality that I talked about, a little bit of that swagger that we've seen them have, that's where that got to come out, right? Hey, if y'all going to go, and have all your explosive firepower with your offensive linemen, well, guess what? We're going to match that same type of intensity. We're going to give you exactly what you thought you couldn't do, right? We're going to go blow for blow with you. It's a heavyweight bout, 12 rounds, and we finna fight all the way down in the trenches. And I think that's where this Texas team has to get to, because that's what Georgia does. That's what they do. That's their game plan. They always want to take the fight to the opposing team. They want to establish the line of scrimmage. They want their runners to be fresh. They rotate both of them in, and both of them are really good. And Nate Frazier's he's peaking at the right time for this offense. And so what better way for this Texas defense to make a statement than shutting down an offense that's clicking on all cylinders? And you got to do that by stopping the run, and then you can go ahead and pin your ears back. And if we do a good job of stopping the run, then this Texas defense and that pass rush, they'll be able to affect Gunnar Stockton for sure. That's something that I do believe to happen. You just got to make sure that you're handling your business up front. And Zachariah Branch, that's another guy. He's an extension of the run game for them. They're going to throw it, just bubble screens, quick screens, tunnel screens, quick outs. Like they're going to try to get the ball to him in space, because they know we got athletes too in the box. Let's see one-on-one if the guys can tackle one of their perceived to be best players. And so you got to handle the run game, handle him as an extension of the run game. And then that will allow this Texas defense and that D-line, especially with Colin Simmons, to create those one-on-one opportunities.
I love it. All right. So before we jump into talking Texas offense, so can you give us your key matchups for Texas defense and maybe some key players to look out for?
Oh, yeah. Well, it starts right at the ball, the center for Georgia, and our defensive tackles as they roll in, whether it's Murad Watson, Hero Canute's been playing really well lately.
Oh, yes.
Whoever is in there, and it's going to be a rotation. You want those guys playing probably 25 to 30 reps this game. You want them as fresh as possible, but it's going to come down to the tenacity that they have against those interior three of Georgia, the left guard, center, and right guard. versus whichever combination of defensive tackles that Texas rolls out there. I think that's going to be the matchup that'll dictate the Texas's success on the defensive side of the ball. And you look back last year, this is where Texas kind of struggled, especially in the first game. ETN, statistically, it wasn't like he went for 300 yards rushing or anything like that, but he did have multiple rushing touchdowns. They were efficient running the ball, and whenever they needed a first down, he was able to get them a first down and extend some plays, especially in the fourth quarter. And it was frustrating, especially at home. Like you expecting that D-line to come up, and it seemed like the D-line just got a little too worn down from being on the field too much. And so SEC championship game, right? You see some of the same phases of, the D-line getting worn down late, the rushing attack starting to pick up for Georgia in that second half. So it's going to be a second half battle and a test where if you shut them down, that's where you start to really see, okay, this team isn't nearly as explosive and dynamic as they are whenever they become one-dimensional. But it's always going to be a tall task making a Georgia team one-dimensional. So that's where my eyes go. Obviously, Anthony Hill is going to have to be lights out. Whenever the ball does get to him, he got to make tackles. Leon Lafau, this is a game for both of those guys where they each could have 8, 9, 10 tackles apiece and be in the mix. And obviously, Mookie's going to be down in there as well. And those safeties going to have to get involved in the run game. And Jelani, whichever one, however they rolling and spinning and rotating through, that's going to be the interior. But it's literally the middle of the defense where those two interior defensive tackles and then Ant Hill and then whichever safety is filling and coming down as that 8th defender in the box, they're going to have to be elite, sound, and physical every single play for all 4 quarters if Texas wants to have success defensively.
What I hope they fixed defensively in the bye week was how tight ends can take advantage over the middle on Texas. And if ever there was a team that used the tight ends over the middle, that worries me. So, especially because we've seen Grayson Littleton is a baller. He's amazing. He's falling out as a freshman, but we've seen teams target him. So I think hopefully, I'm sure they use the bye week to address that. Yeah. Let's flip it a little bit now and talk some Texas offense. We know when that fourth quarter of Mississippi State is just lit on fire. They've made these different changes, Milwee going to the box and, the O-line moving Hudson and Robertson to center, Hudson to guard, all those things, bringing him back. And this is really connecting and working. The quick throws, 11 personnel, all the things, right, or got the offense moving to where more like what we thought it was going to be earlier in the season, but it came. They're playing their best offense at the right time. They took that momentum, brought it home to the excitement of being back at DKR. Put up points quick. Didn't do so much at the end. Vanderbilt was able to fight back, but the offense looks good. How do you see them taking that to Georgia now? We already talked about like the issues of maybe the noise or, getting into long third downs. How do you see this team building on that momentum? Because just when they got it going, then they had a bye week. So what do you do in that bye week to keep the momentum going?
Yeah. Well, first off, yes, the momentum needs to stay there, and the intensity and level of attention to detail that the Texas offense played with, the sense of urgency, right? You got to continue to have that throughout the bye week. And I'm sure that was emphasized with Sark over the bye week. And as they prepared and planned for Georgia's defense and the different looks that they're going to get, you got to make sure that you still know what you do best and being able to execute at what you do best, because Kirby Smart's going to throw out some of these exotic looks. We see it every single week. We saw it 2 times last year as well, but it's what he does. That's what got him to Georgia as the head football coach, was how good and great he was as a defensive play caller. And obviously him and Sark go way back, and the relationship that they share and the times that they've gone against each other, that's where you got to say this is, a chess, not checkers type of matchup. And I think that's where you got to have the offense clicking on all cylinders. Whatever you did in the second half of the Georgia game and game number 1, and then what you were able to do in the SEC championship game, where you saw some of the things that were effective. And Rod Babers, we call him Stat God, because he will list it out. And if you go watch our Georgia preview, he's charted every single thing, using motion. And then
he had like a novel of notes going on.
4 different sheets of paper, front and back.
He did.
And he's meticulous with the way he writes all of his charting notes down, how he folds it up. And then whenever we come to the show, how he unfolds it to make sure he got the right one where it needs to be, because they're front and back. So he has a total of 8 pages of notes that he's prepping and preparing for. And that's what I love about Rod, is because he's able to give you the statistical analysis and the breakdown from a stats perspective and from a chart perspective. But he mentioned that he saw what Sark noticed as the key to success of where they were able to move the ball a little bit more effectively. And that was motioning and providing a different picture pre-snap to post-snap to what the defense was expecting and doing, and then being able to get his playmakers on the move and getting them the ball and opportunities that created rub or friction type of situations where the defense had to pass off, whether it was a bunch look or if it was a motion jet sweep and then misdirection one way to the other, and then implementing the screen game as well. That's what we're going to see from Sark. And I think we're going to see that as well as what we saw from Vanderbilt, right? Getting the ball to your playmakers quickly. Don't even let the interior defense become a factor with creating negative plays. Get it outside to some of your playmakers and let them go one-on-one and see what happens, right? The last couple of times Ryan Wingo's been one-on-one out there, he's been able to make people miss and then go score for 60, 70 yards or whatever the case may be. And DeAndre Moore has that same type of capability and has showcased that himself as well. And I think that's where you're going to see the short pass game and RPO game be an extension of the run game, because that's where Texas has failed at and kind of moving the ball against Georgia, or whenever it comes from, being effective and efficient in the running attack and the rushing attack. So you got to see those outside screen passes, got to see the motions and the speed outs, get the ball out of Arch's hands quickly at the beginning of a game to establish a rhythm and confidence with him as well as the rest of the offensive line and the receivers, and then sprinkle in the run to be able to keep Georgia honest. And if you can do that effectively and efficiently, that's where you really start creating opportunities to be in third and short situations rather than third and longs. You're able to take shots downfield because you got to get the defense to back up, which the secondary isn't necessarily the same as what we've seen over the past couple of seasons. And so some of those one-on-one opportunities downfield, you got to take advantage of those. And maybe they're 50-50 balls, but trust in Ryan Wingo to go up and make a play. Maybe Emmett Mosley or Parker Livingston is the guy that'll go give you that opportunity to win those 50-50 balls. And I think that's how you got to take the attack to Georgia, because they'll be amped up, ready to stop the run and ready to contain Arch, but try to take them out of the game as early as possible. And I think that's a recipe to get them frustrated.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned Emmett Mosley. I think having all of our wide receivers back, I think we saw his impact against Vanderbilt for sure. Mm-hmm. He's a big physical guy. He will go up. He will fight for the ball. You talk about the 50-50 ball. I think that's something that we're seeing Wingo start to come into his own, but I think Mosley really made a big difference there. Like he's gonna go up, punch you in the face, and get that ball. He's coming down with it hell or high water, right? Yes. So I love that. You guys had mentioned on your show, and we talk. We're big O-line people here. We love our O-line. We know the O-line struggled a little this year, but we saw some changes against Vanderbilt. We know that we kicked Hudson out to guard and Robertson back at center. You guys had brought it up on the show that now you've basically got 2 centers in there. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that's going to affect and help out this offense, even against a defense like Georgia?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of handling the atmosphere and everything that'll be happening in Athens, having two guys that can communicate to the level of Connor Robertson and Cole Hudson, because they're used to being in the center position and having direct the other four linemen. Now you got Cole Hudson being able to help left tackle, Connor Robertson and DJ able to help the right tackle. And then the communication should be seamless. And we saw that unfold against Vanderbilt, the best game that the offensive line produced. And that was in part to the success of them being able to communicate well, but then also getting more comfortable with each other and peaking at the right time from a standpoint of playing their best football when the best football needed to be played and demanded of them. And so that taking what worked against Vanderbilt has to be the same type of carryover that we mentioned from the swagger and the perspective that the defense is going to have and the offense is going to have same mentality for that offensive line. And where it really is critical is being able to do a snap count. And so typically you're going to hear a clap or you're going to hear a said hut from your quarterback. Well, that probably won't be the case this Saturday. It's all probably going to have to go off of emotion, where you're going to see Cole Hudson probably have to tap Connor Robertson to let him know, all right, you're going to snap it. And sometimes you got to do the head fake. I don't know if you all are familiar with the head bob, but they'll do the head bob and then snap it. And then that's a way for the offense to go on too, because sometimes they'll do a double head bob and then a pause to be able to either get the defense to jump or to just hang in their stance a little bit longer, so that you can kind of create the advantage of knowing when you're going to snap the ball. So all of those will have to be a factor. But like I said, having Cole Hudson right next to Connor Robertson, who's been in those shoes as well, he's going to know, hey, stay cool, stay calm. Like, I'm going to tap you. Then we're going to run the play the way that it was designed to be run in the time frame that it was supposed to be run, rather than feeling rushed or anxious. And so if they can handle that, which I expect them to, since they're both veteran guys and have played a lot of football, then I think the noise and the crowd and the impact of that won't be nearly as significant as if it was if you only had one of those guys out there trying to communicate to the other four guys.
Sure. I love it. I love that you brought up the head bob. We, and the stunts and kind of the game within the game that is played on that O-line.
Oh, yeah.
We had Hayden Connor on here a little while back, and he was telling us, we couldn't air it at the time, but he talked to us about how he had worked. I mean, it was a thing that they worked on, about a hand movement that he would have that would get the D line to jump, and he said
it worked.
It worked. We watched for it in the games, and sure enough, we catch it. We're like, there it is. So I love that game within the game, and the chess pieces being moved across the board like that. Yep. So, all right.
We cannot talk, of course, about offense without talking about the commander in chief of this offense, right? On the field, Arch Manning. This is a big. He was recruited by Georgia. We were seeing the photos of the students having, Arch shirts, like when he was there on campus, and they wanted him bad, right? And here's what Kirby Smart had to say this week in their press conference about Arch Manning. And then I want to get your thoughts, Fozzy, on what he had to say, and then your thoughts on Arch.
Yeah, he's playing with more confidence. I think number one, he's getting better protection. He's seeing things well. He's making good decisions. He's getting the ball out of his hand quickly. He's maturing. He's had an opportunity to play and grow, and you don't really get that until you get out there and play. He played a good bit last year, but the kind of games he's had to play in this year, just a different stature in terms of the SEC gauntlet. And just, you watch game by game. I watched yesterday each game throughout the year and watched him just grow and play better. He's extending plays. He's doing really well with scrambles, keeps his eyes downfield. He doesn't look at the rush. He's made some really impressive wow throws, and they're playing better offensively.
Thoughts, Fozzy?
Yeah, he's 100% correct. And that's kind of the roller coaster that we were even talking about earlier in the show, is seeing how at the beginning of the year, the expectations were here and the play didn't necessarily match the expectations that were had. And it was ups and downs. And then now you're starting to see the steady climb up just from the maturation process of being a full-time starter and playing this many games consecutively in this league, and all of the games having that kind of emotional wear on you. And then we talked about having to handle being on the road throughout the entire month of October. Like, all of those things have played a factor into where Arch Manning is right now. And the shuffling of receivers being healthy, receivers being hurt, running backs being healthy, running backs being hurt, offensive line changing up who is starting where and when and how. All of those things have been a factor into the story of what this Texas offense is and how Arch Manning has performed. But we're starting to see the consistency actually gel together. Everybody seems to be healthy and playing at a really high level. You got both your running backs back. You found a lineup that works for you in the offensive line from left tackle to right tackle. You got all of your receiver weapons available finally. And it's one of those things where now you can see and truly grade this offense for what it is, because they have time, they have chemistry to gel together. And now whenever you have that time and chemistry to gel together, the results and the proof is in the pudding. And that's where Steve Sarkisian has been really masterful at making those adaptations and making those changes throughout the course of the season to benefit what this Texas team needs in this moment. And I think we'll see continual adaptations because of the adjustments that Kirby Smart's going to make and the adjustments that Sark is going to have to counteract with those things as well. But this offense is definitely ready for it because of where Arch has been throughout the course of this season and how well he's been able to continually, gradually increase his efficiency at playing the quarterback position, taking care of the football and creating explosive plays with his arms as well as with his legs. And I think that's something that hasn't been highlighted enough across the national narrative in the media, is how effective Arch has been with his legs and the amount of rushing touchdowns that he has. Those types of plays where he's either extending the play or getting +1 in the quarterback run or doing the zone read opportunities, the few times that Steve Sarkisian calls it, that's going to be needed to keep the defense honest and to be able to create some of those special memorable plays in order to beat Georgia in Athens Saturday night.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to ask you this question. It's going to sound a little aggressive, I think. One of the criticisms that Coach Sark and company have had has been just kind of that Kirby curse, right? Like how Kirby seems to be calling the plays really well. You mentioned earlier about just his defensive genius. We know that Sarkisian is known for his offense. Can you talk a little bit about that? We've seen the adjustments. We've seen Milwee move up to the booth. We've seen, and to your credit, I think it's underplayed how impressive it is, how much Sark can tweak and change. I don't want to say his like fundamental philosophy. You don't change your philosophy, but he changes his game plan. He changes how he calls plays based on how the team is performing, based on who we're playing. Why has Kirby been kind of the thorn in the side for Sark in that aspect? And do you think some of the adjustments that have been made recently will help? Like, how will that affect what's going on? And will he be able to overcome the Kirby curse?
Yeah, to me, I think the success that Kirby has had against Sark in the past 2 games was literally because the defensive line was playing better than our offensive line. And anytime you have a defensive line being able to bring it to your offensive line, it makes it difficult to call plays. It makes it difficult to execute plays. And you can call screens, you can call whatever, you can call play action, you can call everything downfield. We saw Sark called every play call that he could, but if you don't got the time to do it, or if it gets blown up before the play even gets a chance to develop, then it's just extremely hard to really piece things together. And so we did see that for sure in the first game. Second game, it wasn't nearly as bad, but there still was moments where it felt like, okay, I don't think this Texas team can truly handle this Georgia team. Like, we're able to do it here and there, and we're able to get in the way, but they're not able to take the game over and truly kind of impose their will, which that happens, right? You're going up against a top team and top talent. Both of those things can be true of like, you may not take the game over, but at the same time, you got to be able to be, I called it the efficient type of approach in the running game. And that's where I truly believe Sark has had problems against Kirby, is because Georgia has won at the line of scrimmage with the way Texas likes to run and the run scheme that Texas has implemented. Georgia's been able to stuff that in the 2 times that we've played. And if you go look at the numbers, it's very damning to see how inefficient and ineffective the rushing attack had been against both of those games that Texas played against Georgia. And so if you can do that, that helps aid in what Kirby's trying to do. And you get in those 3rd and long situations that I mentioned Texas doesn't need to be in. And he can pull out his exotic playbook of blitzes and different disguises and try to get those one-on-one matchups, or try to full arch as he drops back. And what he saw pre-snap is not what he's going to see post-snap. And so I talked about on our show, not necessarily being effective because we know rushing the ball is not necessarily Texas's forte this season. And we're not going to necessarily lead with the rushing attack from a mental standpoint of what the game plan and approach will be against Georgia, but you can't abandon it altogether. And being efficient in it is what I mentioned. Like if it's 2nd and 3 or 3rd and 3 and you call a run and you're able to pick up 3 yards and get that first down, like that's efficient. It may not be the 5 or 6 yard average that you want per carry, but you're able to move the change and you're able to add, 3 more downs at minimum to your drive, and you help be complementary because now you give your defense a little bit more rest. You improve field position and just opportunities go up. So Texas has to continue to stay efficient from that standpoint. I don't expect them to run the ball with the best of them, right? I don't expect them to go out there and rush for 200 yards because that's just not the MO of Texas against Georgia, as good as Georgia's defense is. But at the same time, you can't abandon it, and you have to be more efficient than what we've seen from this Texas team the past couple of times that they've played against Georgia.
All right.
Absolutely.
I think too, the difference, we know that Georgia, even though like this year they haven't accumulated very many sacks, last year they came in to that game also not having accumulated many sacks, but then they're able to sack, Quinn Ewers many times in both games. I think the difference this time, which helps a lot, you mentioned Arch not getting enough national credit for his mobility and his, how he can keep the plays alive with his feet. And I think that's going to be a key element that helps Texas in this game against Georgia that they didn't have last year. And also, I think another element which can kind of lead us into the special teams was, Texas could have won the SEC championship game, if they had made a couple of kicks, very crucial key kicks. And now we have a kicker that, as long as, like Megan likes to say, just keep it under 50 yards. And we got gold. Shipley has been consistent under 50 yards, and Texas has to get it in a range that would be successful for him. So to kind of, before we make our predictions on the game, let's just do a quick giving love to the special teams. We know Bouwmeester's been fantastic punting this year, and Shipley's been, like we said, consistent under 50 yards. But let's talk about Ryan Niblett and the impact he's had. We know what he did at Kentucky. Texas would never even have gotten into the red zone without, and then the tying up the game late at Mississippi State with that massive punt return. The success against Oklahoma. Even when we say they can't possibly punt to him, and then they do. Let's talk the bigger picture of like Ryan Niblett sticking with the program, being a culture warrior for the program, and just earning his time and earning the right to contribute to this program, and then taking advantage of that times a million.
Yeah, that's a testament to him, obviously, being committed to the process, as people like to say, and what his commitment to Steve Sarkisian, the University of Texas was, and Sark literally stating he's not taking no for an answer. Like, no, you're not transferring. You're too valuable of a
La
player.
la 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 la
Right.
la.
That's not happening. And like that's what Sark truly believed. And I think that belief is what obviously Niblett felt. And obviously it was enough for him to say, okay, well, if the head coach believes in me this much, I also believe in myself. I know I can do this. I just need the opportunity. Well, the opportunity has been given to him. I will say the opportunity probably has been taken away now. Georgia will not repeat what Oklahoma, what Mississippi State, and what Kentucky has done. Georgia will not do that. And their punter is actually really good. He's one of the best in the country. And so the ability to be able to pin on the sidelines or even kick it out of bounds with still valuable yardage downfield, that's going to be the expectation. If it's not something that they're going to punt it for a touchback, like we will see minimal reps for Ryan Niblett in this game on Saturday. Kirby Smart's too good of a football coach, and Brett Thorsten's too good of a punter to be able to put it in his hands. But that's just a testament and a value to what he's been able to provide for this team, a spark, as well as the level of commitment of never giving up and never doubting yourself and never going down that rabbit hole of like the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and sticking and believing in the I'm about to, this is going to be, this is how it's going to happen. And so I give that kid a ton of credit because there are so many different things that he could have done. He could have left, he could have said, and he could have pouted, and he could have maybe even been down on himself in the dumps. But internally, there was something that was still ticking in him that said, hey, I got something to prove, and I want everybody to see it on the national stage. And he's been able to do that not just once, but multiple times throughout the course of this season. And they've been critical and impactful every single time he's been able to touch the rock. So leading the country in punt return average, obviously the multiple touchdowns, he's just been that dynamic of a returner for Texas. I just don't see Georgia giving him an opportunity just because that'd be the last thing Kirby Smart would want to do is allow possession to start in plus territory for Texas because you gave the ball to the most dangerous return man in the country.
the blunder of the game, right? If you
Absolutely.
let it get in.
Absolutely.
I like that Sark is getting him involved in the offense too.
Yes.
Finding ways to get the ball in his hands. All right, Megan.
All right. Yeah. So Fozzy, we truly appreciate your time. We're gonna wrap up. We're gonna talk about keys to the game and then give our predictions. So folks, thank you for being here with us live. If you have your predictions, we've got a few of them starred. We'll get to those. We'll throw them up, but please throw your predictions in the comments. All right, Rocky. Well, Fozzy, let me start with you. What are your key matchups to this game, and then we'll hold your prediction till the very end?
Yeah, well, number one, Texas got to be able to handle the road atmosphere and the environment, right? Don't let the moment get too big. Don't expend all of your energy earlier in the day watching some of those other football games. That'll be very good as well. And make sure you don't get too emotionally involved with those and keep yourself grounded and ready for the task at hand. And so that comes with eliminating pre-snap penalties, making sure you play disciplined football. That's the first thing that I'm looking for. And then I want to see the line of scrimmage. That's what it's going to come down to. If you want to be a great team in the SEC, not just a good team, but you want to be a great team in this conference and you want to be recognized nationally, you have to win the line of scrimmage. And I'm talking about offensively and defensively because that's where the game is won. If you want to go look at national champions from the past years, go look at their lines of scrimmage, go look at who they've been able to put in the NFL, and then go see how that translated to the success that those teams had in winning that national championship. And so that's where I want to see Texas answer the bell because there have been question marks for sure on the offensive line of scrimmage to say, okay, well, let's see where they're at. They've done it for a week now. Is that who they truly are? Or was that just a flash in the pan? Is that the outlier? And so answer the call, right? Let's see both of those lines of scrimmage be the focal point and the talking point whenever it's all said and done of Texas showing up and doing what they needed to do in order to be successful offensively and defensively. So that's where my mind will be. I think everywhere else, Texas has a great opportunity to really take advantage. They just need to have the time and the space to do that. And so the lines of scrimmage, keys of the game, discipline football, handle the atmosphere, and then win the line of scrimmage.
Love it. All right, Rocky, you got some keys to the game?
All right, I have keys to the game. I think the real matchup, I know that the Kirby Sark matchup is the headline, but I think a sneaky good matchup to me is Bobo PK, right? Their offensive coordinator and PK, Coach Kwiatkowski. And I think
that's why we call him PK.
PK, Kwiatkowski. I think the Georgia's offense is on fire right now, and they can run the dang ball and they can throw the dang ball and they can keep plays alive. And I think the thing about Georgia's offense too, and we watched them play in the last few weeks, it's like, ooh, so-and-so really is fighting with them. Oh, they're really in a battle. No, they ain't. Second half comes and Georgia's gone. Like they're lulling you to sleep, and then they wipe you out in the second half. And I think that is something that is going to have to, those adjustments that PK has to never stop adjusting, right? I think that's going to be sneaky good, especially at home with the crowd behind them. That to me, the key to this game is PK, and let's see. Don't get too cute. Let the ballers ball, and that's what I have my faith in, having the leadership of Taft back and Jelani McDonald healthy, and just it's going to be exciting. Manny Muhammad, they have some great receivers, so I'm excited to see our DBs go against them, and then the D-line stop the run. Those are my keys to the game. I'm putting this all on the defense. I know everybody wants the arch and light the scoreboard up, and the offense has been on fire, but to me, this, like you said, that physicality that it's going to be in the trenches. It's going to be finish hits through the whistle. Let them know you're like they mentioned when Kirk Bowles talked to it's always Kirk Bowles that asks some wacko question, and he said asked Colin Simmons, like, so Georgia is the most physical team in the SEC, and Colin's like, is that a question? You watched them, okay? Like it's his comment was like, okay, but that is an issue. Like coming in, Texas can be tough and physical too, and they need to establish that from the beginning, especially on defense.
Yep.
All right,
can we all just take a moment to appreciate Colin Simmons in his media availability? Like awesome. He has been a gem, man. He has been so much fun.
Hero Canoe. I can listen to him talk all day too.
Yeah, Hero is he's sneaky good at his media availabilities. All right,
Megan, your keys to the game, Megan.
Yeah, keys to the game. Don't force Arch to put on a cape. I think, a lot of people are trying to put everything on Arch's shoulders for this game. And I think we've seen that that's not a recipe for success. Not for Arch, not for most teams. When you have to force someone to put on a cape and do everything, especially with a younger quarterback, it just does not end up well. And I think, like we've talked about throughout this season, like we've talked about in this episode, Arch has matured. This team has matured. They're peaking at a really nice time right now. They're figuring things out, and that offense is clicking. So don't put Arch in a position to have to do everything and make crazy plays and have to be the hero of this game. Arch has to be the leader. He has to be the guy that keeps the cool, calm, collected head and keeps control of the game, but don't ask him to do too much, right? You've got to have your supporting pieces. And like we talk about all the time, complementary football. Play clean. We talked about those offensive stats, and by offensive I mean like that's offensive stats earlier. Look, Texas has got to keep the penalties. We all know I'm the broken record when it comes to penalties. They have got to keep the penalties under wraps here. You've got to play smart. You've got to rely on your two, centers in the game now. You've got to rely on that. You have to keep clean, reduce those penalties, because we know time to put my tinfoil hat on, I suppose. Georgia tends to get calls that go their way in the SEC, and Texas tends to not get calls go their way in the SEC. So keep that in mind. Play smart, play clean, And like we talked about earlier, Fozzy, thank you so much for this contribution here. Like, Texas has to play with swagger, man. You got to come in there and you got to know who you are as a team. I do think that's one thing that is understated. We talk about culture, but I think something that's so important and something that Sarkisian really has changed with this Texas football program is you can truly feel how much these guys love each other and how much they play for each other. That is something that feels like, I hate to be that touchy-feely person, but it feels like the 05 teams did, like the 08 and 09 teams did, right? Fozzy, you can speak to this about the love in the locker room. It feels like we kind of had a gap in Texas football there where it was more about the name on the back than on your chest, right? That's completely changed with Coach Sark. So Texas has to go in, play with that swagger, know you've got this game, know you're the man on your left, the man on your right, they've got your back. They've got to go in and just have that Texas swagger, be confident, don't be cocky, and play the game and execute the game that you know how to execute. So, all right, it's prediction time. Let's run through a few here. All right, I'm going to pull up a few. Yusuf, all right, I like it. 31-24 good guys. That's bold. That's bold. I like it. I'm here for it. Miracle Martinez, Ezzy, thank you for joining us. 27-24 Texas wins because the time of possession, special teams play, and defensive score. Okay.
Ooh,
I like it.
defensive score.
A defensive score in there. I
mean,
like it.
I'll take a good old pick six.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we will get these in. Rocky, I'm going to start off with you. What is your prediction for this game?
You don't want my prediction first. That's going to bring the party down. I have 38-24 Georgia.
Woof. Woof.
No, I'm sorry. I've called the Florida loss. Texas was dominant on the road for over 2 years, a little whatever. And then now this isn't Mississippi State and Kentucky. This is Georgia at night in Athens, and with a team that's just on fire, playing their best ball. And I know Texas is much improved and playing much better ball right now too. I just don't know how I think they hang for 2.5, 3 quarters, and like Georgia has done to everyone else, pulls away. Sorry. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope I look so stupid. I hope.
All right. Well, I don't hope you look stupid, but I am going to disagree with you. I think that this Georgia team this year looks beatable. I think they look different than they have in the past. I think they've shown a few weaknesses that maybe we haven't seen in the past. And I think Coach Sark and company are ready to take advantage of that. So, Fozzy, like you've been saying, man, this is going to be a dogfight through and through. There are not going to be any easy snaps. This is not a roll it through and through game. This is going to be a fight to the very end. But I'm calling it 27-24 for Texas, and for retribution for our pain from last year. I think I'm ready to call you Shipley. I'm calling your number, man. We're going to win on a Shipley kick at the end of the game. So
under 50 yards.
Under 50 yards, damn it. I'm going to put it in there.
It's going to be 51 yards, and he's going to nail it. Right. All right. Yeah, he messes the Wild Foz package.
Yes. I love that now.
All right, Fozzy, it's all you. Let us know. Give us your score prediction.
All right, I'm probably a bit of a Debbie Downer as well. I'm not as bad as Rocky though.
Right? That was impressive.
We recorded yesterday and obviously released it, but I talked about the inconsistencies of where Texas has been, and I think it just may be too great to overcome this team in Georgia with the level of discipline that they're playing at. And we talked about Texas peaking at the right time. Well, Georgia's also peaking at the right time, and I think playing at home gives them a slight advantage. So I got Georgia 29, Texas 24. So had the same score for Texas as Rocky, but no.
29-24 with about 7 minutes left.
Two touchdowns is aggressive.
That's a big number. 2 touchdowns. They barely scored.
I mean, they put a 2 touchdown beating on Texas in DKR last year. So, and it was uglier before that. I
It
just
was
I
up there.
wish I
They
want
didn't even
I have
score
faith.
38 then. That's
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, for those of y'all following along at home, please unfollow Fozzy and Rocky. Make sure that you're following Texas Fancy Boots here. No, I'm kidding, y'all. We really, truly appreciate everybody as you follow us along. Fozzy, can you tell the kind that are following along where to find you and where you're going to be this weekend?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is Fozzy Whit. That's 2 Z's and 2 T's. You can catch me on Third and Longhorn as well with the rest of my guys that are on there. Appreciate you all having me out as well on Fire the Cannon.
Thank
You can see me on there now.
with us.
Yeah,
So,
we took
I
so
know.
much of your time tonight. We appreciate you,
I
man.
appreciate you all having me on. I'll be on the call this weekend, New Mexico State at Tennessee. That'll be a 4:15 Eastern kick on the SEC network. So if you're bored before Texas and Georgia plays, come see some offensive firepower between these two teams for a little bit.
All
I love
right.
it. I
Thank
love
you.
it. We appreciate you, man. All right. So be sure to like and subscribe. Fozzy, thank you so much for your time. You're more than welcome to hang around. We're going to chat a little college football, but we also appreciate that we've stolen you for a long time. And you got kids, you got to make sure.
We.
I appreciate that. Thank you all. Hook them all way.
All right.
Thank
Hook 'em, Fozzy.
you. All right. Everyone else,
All right.
you're welcome to stay. We're going to talk college football now. We're going to fly through it because it is getting late. I'm here where I am. It's an hour later, so it's 11:38 p.m. where I am now.
And I still haven't packed my truck for
I know.
the drive
fly
tomorrow.
Let's fly through the college football. So last weekend I was in Colorado, and it was the bye weekend, so everybody was watching the games from all the different places. The biggest game I think that everybody was watching early in the day was the Penn State at Indiana at Penn State game, and it was a crazy game with Penn State actually looking like they might survive this game at home, upset number 2 Indiana, have some kind of hope for the rest of their season, and then this happened.
Mendoza in trouble. It's out. Touchdown! Wow! A Longhorn play. Unbelievable. Get alive and Jovi now.
Look, that call was delightful.
So much.
That call was delightful. And I'm going to say this, that had to be, we've seen some impressive stuff. That had to be one of the best catches I have ever seen.
And he got both feet down. Mendoza to Cooper could be the catch of the year.
Yeah.
Not just Mendoza's getting a gut hit as he throws a dime to where only Cooper can go up to get it. Cooper balances, turns his body in the air with contact and gets both feet in.
Well, has the body awareness to make sure that the foot that technically was higher came down in bounds before it was crazy, man.
Everything about that.
I was definitely rooting for an upset in that just to help Texas out more. But my God, I can't be mad about that. That was one of the craziest catches I have ever seen, just the body control. And Rocky, I think you pointed this out. Let's not forget, because we bash on refs a lot, but that back line judge was on it. He was looking down, looking exactly where he needed to be. He caught everything clearly, called it perfectly.
Yeah.
I would never want to be a ref. That shit is hard. He was
in the most excellent position the entire time. His eyes were on the feet. He turned to look for the hands, full catch. You have to give love to that. Even in our group chat, we're like, give love to that ref on that call.
It was impressive.
Gus Johnson was crying. He was losing his mind because that was beyond the catch itself, which was insane, and the throw, which was insane. The impact of it, number 2 Indiana staying alive and undefeated, was massive. They're still very much in the Big Ten championship hunt. Number 3 A&M went to Missouri, put a beat down on them. They had their 3rd quarterback in because their first 2 have broken legs. That's just terrible. I would not want to be the quarterback for Missouri next.
No kidding.
No. Anyway, but Missouri still rushed for over 200 yards. On A&M.
Yeah, that's something to note. This Texas A&M, we'll talk about them in the preview. We'll talk about them But I do think, look, A&M is playing some of the best ball that we've seen them play in a very long time.
Very long.
We've spoken Elko's praises for a long time. We've talked about what a great hire that is. But I will say, number 3 A&M, good for y'all. Y'all have been winning. But it is a little suspect with their schedule, their strength of schedule. So, Missouri still being able to rush, that's something we'll talk about, something to keep an eye on, Texas fans, and maybe a key to success for a top 5 win.
They
All right, Rocky.
definitely haven't had to play any of the good SEC teams this year, so good for them. Anyway, that game was close until Missouri fumbled for the 3rd time or whatever it was. LSU and Alabama, that was supposed to be – traditionally, this is an exciting game. This is one of the most boring games ever. Took football back 100 years. It was so bad. Alabama got up 17-3 at half, but then it was punt, fumble, punt, but whatever. That was not a good game to watch. Georgia, we all watched that because we were there. The next opponent, they put it on Mississippi State. Oh, almost 600 yards of offense at Mississippi State. Texas Tech looked good. They beat up on undefeated BYU. They had the game day and all the atmosphere and all the things. They have the number 1 rush defense in the country. They held BYU to 67 yards rushing.
Total. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Texas Tech is, again, I've got no love for that team, but you've got to respect what they're doing out there. They ponied up the money, they built a team around it, and to his credit, Joey McGuire's coaching his ass off. So good for them. They're looking like the team to beat. And currently, this gives me heartburn talking about it. Some of the current projections, if things play out the way that we expect them to for the rest of the season, is that Texas would have to go to Lubbock to play Texas Tech for that play-in game, and then if they win that, play A&M in the next playoff game. That is heartburn for me, and I don't know that I love that scenario, but here we are.
We'll a lot of football to play. A lot of football to be played. All right, number 9, Oregon. So at Iowa took the lead with the game started with first score was a safety. It was just weird numbers in that. As I was following the score, weird numbers in that game. But anyway, Iowa took the lead with about a minute and a half left. Missed the 2-point conversion. It was 15-13. They missed the 2-point conversion, which would have made it 16-13. And of course, what does Oregon do? Kick it to win 16-15. 18-16. Sorry, it was 16-15 when they took the lead, and it ended up 18-16. The Oregon kicker's name, I had to mention his name, Megan, because I think it's pretty interesting. The Oregon kicker's name is Atticus Sappington.
Yeah, that's either a Downton name. That's either a Downton Abbey name or Harper Lee would be super proud of that name because Atticus Sappington.
I present to you.
Yeah, did we hear that on Bridgerton? I don't know.
He's the kicker of Oregon.
Is this Bridgerton or college football, damn it? No, but I love it. Look, I love me a good, crazy football or baseball name. I think that ranks up there pretty.
That's why I had to show it to you. Atticus Sappington.
Yeah. And of course, he's a kicker. Of course.
Notre Dame beat up on Navy. I thought Navy was going to give him a fight. Nope. Vanderbilt Auburn was such a good game. I don't know if you were watching that, but they had over 1,100 yards of offense. The defense didn't even come out to play this game. Neither side had any defense. Megan, in this game, there were 64 first downs.
That's bonkers.
And almost 80 pass attempts with 0 interceptions.
Which is actually really impressive. If you think about those numbers, that is a little mind-boggling. I do have a question for Pavia, though. Was this another garage sale that he went to, or how is this working out against Auburn? So, look, I think the maybe folks have gotten a little chip on their shoulder about Pavia running his mouth a bit. Maybe Auburn.
I think people are getting tired of him.
Yeah, and so maybe that polish is worn off a little bit with Vanderbilt, but Auburn, Rocky, I don't know. That team is hard to figure out. Fired their coach. They're in the coaching search in a crazy college football year for coaches. But it feels like Auburn is always right in the thick of it and then just shits the bed at the end. Well, it definitely feels like that.
We saw a few where the refs literally handed the game away from Auburn.
Oklahoma.
So that
Sorry,
sucks.
something in my throat. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Virginia 14, Louisville 15, both lost at home. That's pretty much sums up what happened in the most important, at least to us, games in the top 25, which led us to this new college football playoff rankings. And here's Texas at number 10, just ahead of OU, just behind Notre Dame. We see lots of SEC teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SEC teams in the top 11. And then right behind you have Vanderbilt. So there's anybody here that's surprising to you? I'm surprised BYU only fell to 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're getting credit for how good Texas Tech is looking right now. So I think 12 feels fair. What I will say, though, is for the first time in a long time, y'all, Texas won the bye week. We actually moved up a spot in this particular bye week, which hasn't historically been the case for Texas and the way that things get voted on. So any surprises? I mean, if you want to just talk on a fundamental level, on an existential level, A&M at number 3 is still shocking to my core, but they've been playing well.
They haven't beaten a team with a winning record except Notre Dame week 1.
There is that. But, good for the Aggies. That makes the showdown.
They look good, though. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They can't help it if the teams they play end up stinking otherwise. All they can do is beat up on them, and they've done that. They beat LSU. LSU has a winning record. But I think they're like 5-4, something like that. Anyway,
they're on that cusp.
Yeah, but they're 5-4. They've beaten up badly on the teams they're supposed to, and that's pretty dang good. And
yeah, agreed. Look, I also think Tennessee has been a team that's been really up and down. They're currently at 23. I feel like they're probably a better team than what their current ranking is showing. But as we've been talking about, the SEC is a dogfight, and I know that Tennessee did have a pretty rough schedule. So been interesting.
Awful.
They did in this past game, but they've been a team that had showed a lot of promise, had been in some dog fights, looking good. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, currently I like where Texas sits. I mean, technically I think Texas and OU are tied for number 10. Of course, in this ranking, they're giving Texas the upper hand because obviously Texas took that head-to-head win against OU. Rocky, something I did want to say about that, I've seen a lot of the naysayers online try to discredit Texas for that head-to-head win against OU because the offense only scored 17. I'm like, is that really how we're counting this? At the time, OU was number 6 in the nation.
Yeah.
And we have held OU to no touchdowns for 2 years now. And you're going to discredit Texas? Come on, man. I think it's even more impressive that we had the defensive scoring. And look, both our defense and offense scored, and OU couldn't do that. So
not going to apologize.
I think it's funny how the narratives go. Glad to see that head-to-head.
Yeah, not going to apologize for having a team that can score multiple ways.
Go ahead.
I was saying not going to apologize for having a team that can score multiple ways. All right. Okay, so let's look at the schedule. Yeah, let's look at the schedule coming up with the new shaken up rankings. Friday night, there's actually ranked games on Friday night. Clemson at Louisville. There are people who had Clemson number 1 before the season started. They are unranked 4-5 at Louisville. Louisville field goal favorites at home, and then Minnesota goes to number 8 Oregon. Oregon is like 4 touchdown favorites at home, 26 points at home. Saturday, not anything crazy exciting other than Texas and Georgia, but there are a few good games. Wisconsin, Indiana, South Carolina at A&M. A&M are 20-point favorites at home. This game should not be interesting. A&M should handle a really bad 3-6 South Carolina team. Let's see. One that is interesting that has major college football playoff implications is 7-2 Notre Dame, number 9, going to number 22 Pitt, also 7-2. They are at Pitt. and Notre Dame is favored by 12.5. If Pitt can pull this off, Notre Dame is done in this college football playoff conversation. That will be 3 losses, and that's just too much for an independent who doesn't have much else on their schedule. And I listed for us to mention that UTSA goes to 1-8 Charlotte. And I only mention that because I think like Georgia plays Charlotte next week or something crazy. Like, anyway, terrible. Arkansas, LSU. I mean, that's for the bottom of the barrel of the SEC. And then, okay, the afternoon games, interesting. Number 11, and you can pick. Well, let's pick this one, Megan. Number 11, OU goes to number 4, Alabama. Alabama did have not their best showing last week against LSU, but they are giving a lot of love to OU in this spread, with Alabama only favored by 5.5 at home. What do you think?
I think that's it. That's surprising to me. I think
It's
Alabama
very
is
surprising. Vegas knows something.
Yeah, well, I do think that Alabama is back to being Alabama. You know it. Like, I think they are a team that's got swagger back. They've got some of that. They're playing well. Again, call me out all you want. Kalen DeBoer has done a great job. Took a little bit to get his sea legs under him at Alabama, but he's figured it out. So, yeah, only being a 5.5-point favorite against OU, that I'm a little surprised by this. I think that maybe because it's a mid-afternoon game, maybe the atmosphere won't play in quite as much as it would with a night game. And OU showed some sass after getting beaten by Texas by quite a bit. I'm just gonna say that.
They're 7-2.
Yeah, but OU definitely is showing a little bit of spark there. So for me, this is probably the game that I'm most interested in at that 2:30 slot to check out, because I do think it's going to be really interesting to see, does OU bounce back and can they put it to Alabama or will Alabama roll and kind of be roll tide again? So
that's the game of the afternoon for sure, Megan. Also, UCF goes to number 6, Texas Tech. Big 3 touchdown favorites there. I mentioned this 5-4 NC State going to number 15 Miami. The only reason I mentioned this game is because NC State is one of those teams that every year they get up and bite someone.
They do.
If they can get up and bite Miami at 7-2, then Miami's done.
NC State is what Coach Royal would have called a cockroach. They're not going to do anything great, but they can fall in some stuff and really mess it up. So,
NC State is one of those teams for sure.
Absolutely.
Iowa, a ranked matchup also in the afternoon, 21 Iowa at 17 USC. Iowa coming off that field goal loss at home, last second loss at home. USC is 6.5-point favorites. All right, evening games.
Yeah, before we move on real quick, I did want to point out, CB, thank you for bringing this up. This is pretty interesting. We were talking about Bama just a second ago, and the Bama quarterback, Ty Simpson and Arch Manning, have been texting each other about common opponents. I know that this is kind of an interesting take. Rocky, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I wanted to see, what do you think about, do you like the sharing of information amongst perceived rivals? What are your thoughts on this?
I love it. I mean, what's they all share. Coaches share, players share, staff share. I mean, we saw this picture this week of fired Napier coach, the Florida coach who was fired, on the sideline at Georgia's practice. Georgia has Kirby Smart's just fine. He doesn't need Napier's help, but wow, that visual is like, maybe he saw something. Hey, take all the help you can get. We've seen that. I like that.
I think it makes sense.
All the quarterbacks are friends. They camp together. They do all these things together. They go to all the schools.
Not all of them are friends.
No. I'm not saying they're all friends, but a lot of them, they all know each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grew up being recruited from the same schools and going to the same QB camps and all that stuff. And they know each other, and some of them stay friends. And I want to know what he told them, because Ty Simpson went into Athens and lit up Georgia.
He did. Again, so I like it. Look, I think what I think I really love about this is it shows a lot of maturity on Arch's part to go in and say, hey, look, let's share some some intel here. Let's talk about what works. What did you see? And that's what Arch was saying. They talk to each other about, hey, what did you see? Here's what I saw. This is what worked well. And to me, this doesn't bother me at all, especially considering that we're not playing Alabama this year. There may be some crazy playoff scenarios that we run up against them, but overall, I really like that they're sharing info. And look, every little bit of help you can get, take it, man. Especially against Kirby Smart's team.
Yep, agree. All right, evening games. Nobody will be watching these because we'll all be watching Texas, Georgia. But Florida goes to Ole Miss. Utah goes to Baylor. That's only interesting because Utah coming off a loss. Do you think Baylor can be one of those teams that gets up and bites them? We'll see. Utah's only a touchdown favorite at Baylor, so maybe UCLA. You know that classic Big Ten matchup of UCLA and Ohio State. That's happening. Ohio State 32-point favorite. I think they're going to win by more than that.
32 is excessive. Like, that's a crazy stat line, but
yeah,
here
for
we
a
are.
Conference game.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the state of 2025 college football, I suppose.
Yeah, we talked about Texas, number 10, Texas at number 5, Georgia. The spread's still 5.5. Last I checked. TCU at BYU. Who cares? And then I always like to tell you the latest game of the night, Megan. Not too bad. Wyoming
This one
at
is
Fresno. That's not too bad. 9:30 p.m. Central Time, which is only 8:30 for them and 7:30 for Fresno State. That's fine.
That's reasonable.
That's not too late.
That's reasonable.
That's
not
reasonable.
This crazy games going till 2 a.m. Ugh, ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Wyoming. Naughty got into Wyoming this week.
Too cold though, right?
Way too cold. And they sent her a letter saying auto admit or something, like they offered her. Anyway,
Nice.
So that's cool. Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap up, Megan, because it's late.
It is, and I have a lot of packing to do. Do we want to touch on some rapid fire top stories? Give a thought on it, and then shut down.
Let's just do one quick one. I wanted to show you today was National Signing Day, right? So congratulations to all the high school athletes who get to sign a letter with a college of where they're going to play ball. Texas baseball put out this image of their signees today because we know they can't name the high school kiddos until they've signed. So they split it into 2 images side by side, but here's their pictures of the future Longhorns who signed. I like this guy. Look at this guy. Yeah.
I love it.
Let's bring
he's
some of that
kind
energy.
of Justice Finkley vibes up there. I'm just saying, like,
he's bring that energy. I can't tell which name is. I should go look that up. Which name goes to which player? But man, I like that fired up energy.
Yeah, Texas baseball did sign a really incredible class, and also I want to shout out Texas softball too with the number 4 recruiting class in the nation. Of course, Oklahoma, Patty Gasso doing her thing, coming in at number 1, but Texas with the number 4 signing class coming off that national championship. That's a good deal for Mike White. So let's see how that plays out. But yeah, we'll talk about it more. We'll talk about, of course, more top stories a little bit later. It is getting late. We appreciate y'all being here. Again, a huge shout out to Fozzy Whittaker. We stole so much of your time tonight and are so grateful for how long you stuck with us. Y'all, it's 11 o'clock Central. I've got some packing to do. Rocky, I feel like it's almost midnight where you're at. Yeah, so we appreciate it. Again, y'all, please don't forget to like and subscribe. On Instagram and Twitter, we are Fire the Cannon and the number 1. On YouTube, we are Fire the Cannon Podcast. That always helps us out a little bit. We appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your thoughts, your comments. Again, drop a comment on our Twitter account. Let us know that you were here. Retweet it if you'd like. We appreciate it. Every little thing helps. So y'all, get those horns up. Get ready. Ignore not Rocky's prediction. You're going to go ahead and listen to mine for this week. We hope. So
I hope I'm so wrong. I hope I just look so silly.
Girl, I've never wanted you to be more wrong in my life, but I still got love for you. So, all right, y'all.
I hope I'm way wrong.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time, I'm Megan.
I'm Rocky.
And we are Fire the Cannon. Hook 'em, y'all.